Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's going on, everyone? Something massive just shifted in the Bo Bichette market, and it's about to change everything for the Blue Jays. This isn't just another minor update. This is the kind of news that completely rewrites the entire offseason strategy, and Toronto better be paying attention because the window to act is closing fast. Let's break this down because there's a lot more happening here than you think. Mark Feinsand just reported that Bo Bichette is now telling teams he's willing to move to second base long term, not just willing to consider it, actively marketing himself as a second baseman. That's a seismic shift in how his free agency is going to play out. And honestly, it was inevitable. His market as a shortstop was basically non-existent. Most teams already have their guy at short. And let's be real, Bo's defense at shortstop has been rough. His outs above average are in the first percentile. His arm strength sits at the 36th percentile. In today's game, where athleticism and range at shortstop are non-negotiable, those numbers just don't cut it. But at second base, that changes everything. Moving to second base immediately makes him more valuable to way more teams. His arm plays better there. The range requirements aren't as demanding. And most importantly, teams can plug his bat into the lineup without worrying about whether he can handle the defensive responsibilities of shortstop. There are far more holes at second base across the league than at short, and Bo just opened the door for a bunch of teams that were sitting on the sidelines to jump into the bidding. The Dodgers, Red Sox, Giants, Mariners, Rangers, and the Blue Jays are all potential fits now. That's a lot more competition than he had 2 days ago. Here's what's interesting. It took him this long to make this shift public. My guess is he and his agent entered free agency wanting to see if any team would bite on him as an everyday shortstop. Maybe they thought someone out there would overlook the defensive metrics and just focus on the bat. But that clearly didn't materialize, and now they've pivoted. Smart move, honestly. From a pure financial standpoint, marketing yourself as someone who can play both positions dramatically increases your leverage. More teams in the mix means higher offers, and that's exactly what Bo needs right now. The flip side of this, and this is critical for Toronto, is that the Blue Jays just lost a massive advantage. Before this announcement, Bo's market was limited. Toronto could afford to be patient, focus on Kyle Tucker, and know that Bo would still be there as a fallback option if Tucker went elsewhere. But now there are way more teams circling, and if the Blue Jays wait too long chasing Tucker, they could lose Bo to another team entirely. That's a real risk, and it should make the front office a little nervous. Think about the timing here. The Blue Jays have been all in on Kyle Tucker. Every report, every rumor, every insider connection points to Toronto being the front runner, and that makes sense. Tucker is the best available free agent. He's 28 years old, elite offensively and defensively, and he could be the centerpiece of this lineup for the next decade. If you have a legitimate shot at landing that caliber of player, you have to go for it. You can't play it safe. But the problem is Tucker is taking his time. He can afford to be patient because he's the prize of this entire free agency class. And while Toronto waits for him to make a decision, other dominoes are falling. Jeff Passan put out a report saying Tucker is still the belle of the ball. He doesn't need to rush. Even with all the ties to Toronto, he's got options and he knows it. Passan also mentioned that Bregman and Bellinger are holding firm on wanting long-term deals because they've already done the short-term prove-it contracts. They're not budging. And then there's Bo, who now has a much wider market than he did a week ago. All of these situations are connected, and the longer Tucker waits, the more complicated things get for Toronto. Here's the scary part. If Bo signs somewhere else before Tucker makes his decision, the Blue Jays are suddenly in a really tight spot. Tucker could still choose another team. The Dodgers are always lurking. The Yankees need outfield help. If Toronto misses on Tucker and Bo is already gone, what's plan C? That's the nightmare scenario, and it's becoming more realistic every day that passes without a resolution. Now, some people are freaking out about this. They're saying Toronto should forget Tucker and just re-sign Bo right now before it's too late. I get the concern, but I don't agree with that approach. If you're Toronto and you genuinely believe you have the best shot at landing Kyle Tucker, you have to take that swing. Yeah, it's risky. You could strike out. But if you make contact, you're hitting a home run. Tucker is objectively the better player with more upside and a longer window. Bo is a great player, don't get me wrong, but Tucker is a different tier. This is like having pocket kings in poker. You're the favorite. The odds are in your favor. You don't fold just because there's a small chance you lose. You go all in because that's the smart play based on the information you have. Toronto is in the best position to land Tucker. He lives in Tampa, which is close. The roster fit is perfect. The money is there. The competitive window is open. If you don't go all in right now, you're playing scared, and scared money doesn't make money. That said, this Bo news does add urgency. Toronto can't just sit around waiting forever. They need to stay engaged in conversations with Bo's camp, make sure they're still in the mix, and have a backup plan ready if Tucker drags this out into January, because that's exactly where this is headed. Tucker, Bregman, Bellinger, and now Bo with his expanded market are all going to take their time. We're probably not getting resolution on any of this until after Christmas, maybe even into the new year. And here's another wrinkle. Just because Bo is marketing himself as a second baseman doesn't automatically mean teams are going to pay him like a premium shortstop. Second base is generally valued lower. Teams might offer him solid money, but maybe not the number he's looking for. If that's the case, he could pull a Bellinger or Bregman and take a shorter deal with opt-outs, bet on himself for 1 year, and try again next offseason. That's becoming more common in today's market, and it would keep Toronto in play. Bottom line, this is getting complicated fast. Bo opening himself up to second base is great news for him because it expands his market significantly. But it's stressful news for Toronto because they now have real competition for a guy they probably thought would still be available if Tucker fell through. The clock is ticking. Decisions need to be made. And if the Blue Jays are serious about competing next year, they can't afford to come out of this offseason empty-handed. Stay patient, stay aggressive, and for the love of everything, do not let Bo Bichette sign with the Yankees. That would be an absolute disaster. But whatever happens, this is about to get really interesting, really fast. The next few weeks are going to define the direction of this franchise for years to come.